Hey guys, welcome back. So today we are going to be working on number 29 and I believe number 36 of our GMAT math review. These questions both have to do with properties of numbers and kind of just basic arithmetic. So number 29 says, if the quotient a over b is positive, which of the following must be true? So without even looking at the answer choices, the first thing I did when I read this question was think, when is a over b going to be positive? So the things that come to my mind is that there are two different cases. You could either have something such as 1 over 2, that's going to be positive, or you could have something such as -1 over -2, because a negative over a negative is a positive. So either a and b can both be positive, or a and b can both be negative. So now let's go ahead and take a look at our answer choices and see what we think. So does a have to be greater than 0? No, because again, a could be -1, b could be -2. So let's go ahead and get rid of that. Same thing with b. b can also be negative. So let's go ahead and get rid of that. Now we come to c. This one looks likely because if you have a positive times a positive, you're going to get a positive. Similarly, if you have a negative times a negative, you're going to get a positive. So we're going to go ahead and leave that one there. So now let's take a look at D and E. So A minus B is greater than 0. So let's just go ahead and say A equals 1, B equals 2. If we were to do 1 minus 2, we get -1, which is not greater than 0. So we can go ahead and cross that out. And remember, anytime we're proving that one of our answer choices is false, we only need one example of that condition failing, and then we can just get rid of the entire option. So now let's try a plus b is greater than 0. So with these, this would actually work because 1 plus 2 is greater than 0, but let's try our other case. So if we were to have -1 plus -2, this is equal to -3, which again is not greater than 0. So we can go ahead and cancel that out. So in this case, our answer is going to be letter C, a times b is greater than 0. And the key thing to remember in this case is don't be afraid to plug in numbers. Be sure to think about all the different cases you can have and try to remember your properties of numbers. So positive times a positive is positive. Similarly, positive divided by a positive is positive, and the same thing goes with the negative. If they're both negative, multiplied equal positive, and divide equal positive as well. So let's go ahead and move on to number 36. Okay, so what is the lowest positive integer that is divisible by each of the integers 1 through 7 inclusive? So I actually really like this question because it's not that difficult once you break it down into its kind of component parts. So if I were to, let's see, first of all, let's write out all of the numbers we're going to be multiplying. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So inclusive, again, means including the last two, or sorry, the end values, so the 1 and the 7. So you might be tempted to just multiply these numbers together, which also would probably seem a bit intimidating, even for myself. But the lucky thing is that we can remember that we don't have to include every one of these values because some of the numbers in this set are just a product of some of the other numbers. So for example, this 6 can be broken down into a 2 and a 3. So luckily, since we already have a 2 and a 3 here, we can just forget about multiplying by 6 because it's basically redundant. So now let's take a look at 4. 4 is 2 times 2. So again, since we already have 1, 2 here, we can get rid of one of these 2's, and we only have to deal with one extra 2. So this, instead of 4, I'm just going to write that as a 2. So now what we have is, and we don't need to worry about the 1, so we have 2 times 3 times 2 times 5 times 7. So 2 times 3 is 6, 6 times 2 is 12, 12 times 5 is 60, 60 times 7 is 420. And I knew that because 6 times 7 is 42, and then you can just add that 0 onto the end. So 420 is the lowest positive integer that is divisible by each of the integers 1 through 7 inclusive. So hopefully I didn't confuse you guys too much with the whole explanation of why we don't need to include 6, but essentially any number that already has its products being multiplied, we don't have to worry about. All right, well, I hope that video was helpful. If it was, I would appreciate it if you would subscribe and like this video, and good luck with your studies. Thanks for watching.